He is, he's just mixing and matching down there every single day of the week. It's Benny Horowitz. What's up, dude?
Denny, I think your fantasy basketball team here is a microcosm, of you and what you just told me. Oh. You got to take some chances. Can that be your New Year's resolution, 2023?
Oh my gosh.
The same guy who says he doesn't want to get out of his apartment is the same one who drafts Chris Paul, LeBron James on the same team. You're going for the senior citizen lineup, Zion, the injury case. If it wasn't for Jared Vanderbilt and Sengun, you'd be in the
Keldon
weeds.
Johnson.
Yeah, come on.
All right. Man. Hey, if you want to open up my 5-minute journal, you can see a whole lot of goals and chances that we've took in the last year and trying to take in 2023. So
see, this is what I would do with endless money, Denny. James Cameron builds submarines. I would conduct studies through Stanford University to see the parallels between your fantasy basketball drafting techniques and personality. Damn. There's got to be something there,
You said if I had all of this James Cameron money, and I'm like, do you want to fund a movie? And then you just went straight to my fantasy basketball team, which is like the level of importance in my life is crazy.
Well, this goes to show you what's important to me. If I had James Cameron money, I'm not exploring the sea as he does. I'm not exploring space. I'm not building rocket ships. I'm not curing anything. I'm just further exploring the bizarre gray areas that keep me up at night and I enjoy,
Yeah, and we will talk about James Cameron in just a little bit. Golden Globes coming back at you, but Benny, what's
Avatar,
good?
The Way of Water. I went to see it.
Yeah,
come on,
you love it. We'll get to that in a little bit. What else is new out here? Creating, exporting, exfoliating, doing all the fixes.
Yeah, I was getting made fun of last night because I was talking about a song saying it was 12 bars too long, and the people were saying, "Oh, you're in full-on studio mode, aren't you?" And it's true. It's when you get this far into like writing and recording a record, everything musical turns into like, to me, it just turns into like research and then start cutting it apart and seeing what they're doing and what I can do. And I like it. It's a very cerebral experience and kind of a fun journey that I missed going through. And yeah, it's cool.
Do we have a update on the list of inspo?
Oh, it's all over the map. Yeah. It's interesting because when I was first going into this record, I was like, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to listen to any traditional rock and roll. Like, I'm going from soul elements. I'm going from R&B elements, hip hop elements, like different places, and even newer bands where I'm like, they're drawing from different places and different rhythmic patterns. Then I'm getting some demos where, guitars are going a certain way. And I'm like, wait. I got to remember how to just like rock out normally. You know what I mean? And I found myself even practicing this morning. And what were a couple of the songs I was playing? What's that real nice, fast Pearl Jam one?
Oh, no. What's that? Corduroy? No.
That one.
And, is that the Simmons song?
And no, not that one. Mercy Me, Alkaline Trio, which just has like this killer groove, like a punk rock groove.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you get into that pocket, there's only a few places you can go. You can do this forward pattern, 16th notes up top, which end up going into like Ramones / Teenage Bottle Rocket land. And then you can pull from different eras. But when you hear a song like Mercy Me, for me, that's like, oh, cool. That's like a different approach in making a punk rock song. And it's got things in it that make it interesting. And that's always what I strive to do, So that's what I'm going for right now.
I love it. You're like Chris Paul later in the game, adding the mid-range jump shot. I love it.
Yeah. I cut out meat. This is me on the plant-based diet. I shed some pounds. You got to get a little craftier, to stay relevant in this game.
Oh, well,
Listen, there's better athletes hot on my toes, Denny.
You know what segment is hot on the toes every single week? It's leaning up. It's cutting out the meat. You want to know what it is, Benny?
I do. I'm dying to know.
It's this day music history.
Come on.
What do you got?
All right. So it's more this day in baby history.
Okay.
Famous babies, okay? This day, 10 years ago, 2012, Beyonce and Jay-Z have their first child, Blue Ivy Carter.
That's right.
Happy birthday, Minnie Hove, by the way. I know you're a listener. So the reason I brought this up is like, usually I wouldn't bring up someone's kid, but this is a 10-year-old kid. We're getting singles or something soon, right? Like, how old was Jaden Smith when we started getting jams and like these kids raised in the industry? I mean, they're pre-teens, 12, 13.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to assume they got a pretty nice studio in their house. Probably got an engineer and production team like on retainer. Just whenever either of them have an idea, they can walk downstairs and be like, "Hey, Jim, fire up the $1 billion studio we have." So that kind of access, and I don't know if it's a natural inclination or not, like the little kid in Jerry Maguire, but I don't know. I think we're gonna have a Blue Ivy hot track coming at us pretty soon.
Well, Willow, as she goes by now, Will and Jaden's kid, came out with her first thing. I believe that was 2011, 2012. So I think that's around the same timeline. So, hey, you got to deliver the hits, kid.
It's coming. So this is the question, is with Jay-Z and Beyonce together, are we getting hip hop? We getting pop? What? Maybe just like to fuck with parents. It's gonna be like metal. Be like big Metallica fan or something.
She's gonna sound like Paramore.
Honest, maybe. Yeah, it's gonna be Paramore with like digital beats for sure.
No. Like New Jersey's own SZA kind of taking that approach on her new album. I don't know if you've messed around with that in like your drumming discovery, but Maplewood's own doing some pretty interesting things.
I haven't heard that, but it's pretty apparent in pop music these days. The influences coming from like emo and 80s post-punk and stuff like that. Like it's right there, especially in the beats. It's nice to hear. I don't care.
Yeah. I can't wait for one of these TikTok people to sample 59 sound.
You gotta stop saying TikTok like that, or else we're just gonna get aged out of everything. These TikTok people.
I mean, I'm pushing 30. All
right, what's yours? All
right,
this day?
So on this day in 2017, and I'm sure I already did this one, Norway announced that it would become the first country in the world to gradually stop using FM radio network. The move, which aimed to ditch the analog platform in favor of a digital one called digital audio broadcasting, would bring a clearer sound to the nation's 5 million people. Now, in America, I don't think you will ever see them like fully go away from this just because of what FM radio means here.
Yeah.
But it's already, the people have already kind of chosen going away from FM radio, but I don't think that the country would ever be like, Cousin Brucey, you're done.
No, we couldn't pull the plug like that. And that's where, Norway and a lot of Scandinavian countries get to flout certain things that just aren't even possible here, especially being that New Jersey has more humans than Norway does by a fair margin. But for them, sounds great. I bet they get crystal clear radio. Good for you, Norway. Right. You live the longest. You have the greatest joy in life. You get the crystal clear radio. I guess I should have been born a Viking,
Oh, well, I'm sure you'll get back to. Oh my gosh, I almost made a massive geography error. Moving on.
Geography error?
I was almost going to be like, well, you're going to be back to Aarhus, but that is not Norway. That is Denmark. So
sure is. Nice city, though.
Yeah, very nice. Good arts community.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the arts, Benny, our first headline today, and obviously we're going to get to the Damar Hamlin story when we get to the sports part, but we're going to start off with a little bit of fun here and a group that has controversially made their way back into the public mainframe. The International Foreign Press's Golden Globes is back for its 80th edition after being off of TV last year because of their controversy in their voting and everything like that. So it wasn't televised last year, back this year on Tuesday. So it got kicked from Sunday night to Tuesday, like it's Grey's Anatomy in 2011. The show was moved, as I said. It'll be on January 10th on NBC and Peacock, hosted by one of my favorite comedians, Gerard Carmichael, as they honor Eddie Murphy and Ryan Murphy. Not related, in case you want.
All right.
But Benny, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to talk about the movies, the pictures, and the stuff that we've seen along the way.
That's right.
We got some Best Pictures nominated for in the drama department in a movie that you just saw, Avatar: The Way of Water, a movie that I felt a lot of different ways about in Elvis, a movie that I love, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. Great selection in the drama department. But first and foremost, I want to hear, you saw Avatar. I have not yet. Thoughts?
Yeah, all right. So it stays where you would expect it to stay, where we're quickly brought to that world, and it very effectively gets you caught up into that world and caught up into the story. They bring in some new characters where it's like smartly done, where you know who these characters are almost immediately, and you're transformed to it, and that was the power of that movie in the first place. I gotta say, I don't think I would bring a kid younger than I don't know yet, but not mine, because that's some like violent shit in that movie. And I forgot like that half of it is just avatars flying through the air with death screams, spearing people, and humans trying to blow them up. But the same thing that people will give it shit for the first time, they could give it shit for again, which is these sort of over the top, slap you in the face sort of environmental messages, communal messages, social messages about how to live. I know James Cameron unabashedly put those things in an effort to sway people to a direction, but there's a couple things in that movie that are hard to swallow and tough to watch, but effective in the use and what they're trying to say. So as any of these movies, by like an hour 45 minutes, I'm like, all right, I'm good to go here. I think I know how this is going to pan out. And then of course, spoiler alert, I'm sure you'll hear The Way of Water is not the end of the Avatar series.
No.
And they make that abundantly clear at the end of this film, that you're going to have to be invested for more, and there is not a close to the story. Not like one of my favorite shows right now, Fleischman is in Trouble.
Oh, you like that? I haven't started that
with
yet.
A nice little bow last night, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, so I give Avatar like a hard B, as far as like it's stunning visually, as you would imagine, and like I said, you get lost in the world, the same world that you kind of fell in love with the first time, so it feels like you're going back. Characters are great, a million holes, of course. You have to stretch your imagination like 100 times over. And one other part about it that actually took a day or two to settle in is, some of the interesting conversations we have about artificial intelligence, cloning, what is human and what is not, conversations that I think are in this movie sort of subversively, that will probably become a little more prescient and stable over time. Like I think there's a couple things in this film that we might run into in 20-30 years that actually contrast things that happen in this movie.
So it's going to be the anti-Blues Brothers. It's going to age incredibly well. It's going to age like Rob Lowe. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, no, I think in about 50 years, we'll just take some version of like The Matrix, Avatar, Passion of the Christ, whatever, mix them all together and we'll find our own strange reality,
So where are you on the 3-hour movie though? Because I saw a movie that was also equal in length in Babylon. And let me tell you, the best review I can give this was if Robert Downey Sr., famed director of like Lower East Side movement in like the 70s, if he directed Singing in the Rain.
Oh,
so you could love that or you could hate that. And it kind of saw a weird divide in the film community. The people that are like pretend to be like film hardcore kids and like really get into it are like, yeah, like I love to see an elephant shit on Diego Luna like 2 seconds into the movie. But
an elephant shit on Diego Luna. I love this film hardcore kids.
Yeah.
When they really like something, do they open up a pit at the theater?
100%. And then they pour all of the hundreds of thousands of dollars they spent at film school into said.
Do you recommend? What's your Siskel and Ebert grade? Do you recommend people to go see this film?
I would only if you are if you would read a book on old Hollywood and you want to have some fun for 2 hours with Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt. It's fun for 2 hours. The third hour, it starts to get a little trippy and kind of veers off into a way that's like, man, this popcorn really isn't sitting with me well at this point. But it does a really interesting thing with, like orgies and like all of this stuff that makes it accomplishes its goal of making it like background noise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, whatever. Honestly, you bored me with the description 20 seconds ago, and I'm not seeing this movie.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. So the other, so in the best picture, we talked about Avatar. Babylon's not in this one. It's going to come up later. Elvis, Fableman's a movie I liked. It's a Steven Spielberg biopic. Tar, a movie that had me up until the very end. Cate Blanchett plays a conductor, and it's very fun. And then it veers off into like she goes to Thailand to find herself.
Oh, no spoilers.
Okay. Well, it doesn't. Listen, if you're going to see Tar, you've already seen it by now. But the way that it turned on me, I was just like, no, I wanted this to be one thing, and it turned in a complete other way. And then the defending champion of the year, Top Gun Maverick, which, if any award show is going to give its flowers, it's going to be the Golden Globe. So
what's your vote?
I would go, man, I'd probably have to go Fableman's if I'm picking my favorite one. Yeah.
All right.
And then we also had, let's see, I'm not gonna bore everybody with the actresses and the actors that are in here. We're just gonna bring you the highlights. I think the actor in a motion picture conversation is gonna be very interesting, especially as we move toward the Oscar season. We got Austin Butler as Elvis going up against Brendan Fraser in The Whale. Love that movie. And we got him going up against Hugh Jackman, Jeremy Pope, and Bill Nighy in The Living. But just that head-to-head of Austin Butler versus Brendan Fraser, kind of a Hollywood past versus Hollywood present, is very interesting.
Past meets future.
Yeah.
That's where you gotta. It's like a NBA battle through the eras you get to see. I love it. It's
like if we ever got to see Wemby go up against LeBron.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But I kind of wanted to use this. We talked a lot about all of this. Benny, I put together for you just for this a top 5 list of movies that are included in here. Movies that inspired me in my writing and everything in 2022. Do you want to self-indulge me for a little bit?
Yeah.
Allow me to eat the snake a little bit?
Sure.
All right. So a movie that's nominated in the musical or comedy category. That was one of my favorite movies of the year. Banshees of Inisherin. Dude.
Oh, yeah.
You got to see this movie.
Got to see it. Yeah.
Got to see it. Funny, but also like not. I don't know. It's very Irish. And if you love the humor of Irish people, you'll love this movie. Love that. And then, so that's on my list of most inspiring movies. Another one that's been nominated and will get a lot of acclaim, and one that you also saw, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Love the Daniels. Met these guys, not to drop a complete name here on it. Met these guys at the Directors Guild when I was out in LA. Guys that came up directing music videos, famously directed the Turn Down for What video. That's just a crazy music video if you've ever seen it, and kind of brought some of that same energy to this movie. Made $100 million on a $14 million movie. You'll work for the rest of your life if you continue to do that.
Yeah, that's great.
So we got Banshees, we got everything. I mentioned The Whale. And then the 2 other ones that I really love this year, they're not up for stuff. One I don't think has been like sold or distributed yet. Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. It's on Hulu. It's got Emma Thompson as a woman searching for her future by finding the arms of a male escort. But the reason why I love this movie, one room, and you kind of have to figure out how to channel all this woman's problems into one room, and it's shot in one room. It was shot during COVID. Very cool. And the last one is one that I've talked on here before about Sanctuary with Margaret Qualley. Once again, shot in one room, and this guy trying to figure out his life, while Margaret Qualley tries to better hers. So the main theme here, people trying to figure out their shit in one room. Love that in 2022.
This is when you see art reflect real life after a couple years, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's been sitting in a room in 2020, and now their movies are coming out.
Yeah, exactly. But how about you, Benny? Anything else on this front?
No, we talked about it all. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Because you want to get we got some AI. You brought up AI before. Let's get to this real quick. Next headline today, Benny, Apple has quietly released a catalog of AI-narrated audiobooks to carve out its place in a highly lucrative and rapidly growing audiobook market. The strategy moves them and may signal the beginning of the end for human narrators, as you know, and have heightened scrutiny over allegations of Apple's anti-competitive behavior. Now, I think, there's a whole lot of ways that we can go in AI. If you're on TikTok, every fourth TikTok you're going to see is about, use chat CPGT XYZ or whatever to make $1 million, which seems like a scam and a half. But do you like Apple getting in on this artificial intelligence and kind of coming at, creators and people that make art for a living?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, of course, what are we thinking Apple is? And, Apple will get into any space they can and maximize it any way they can. I didn't know too much about this prior, as I'm not a huge audiobook listener, but, but let me get this straight. They're not using the AI of celebrity voices. They're just using a random AI voice as if a GPS is talking to me or something, right?
Yeah.
So, I think some of the, glamour of some of this stuff of listening to it is hearing some of those voices, iconic voices. So as long as they're not, I think that's where we could get into some interesting stuff where it's listen to this AI version of a dead celebrity. Somebody who doesn't have the right to their own voice anymore, but their voice is iconic. Who owns their voice? And it's so easily manipulated now where you can put it into a machine and do that. So, them churning out audiobooks with an AI voice doesn't really offend me or, and it kind of makes sense. But I do think this is starting a path that is really interesting. And not only this space, but obviously also music and art.
Yeah, let me be slippery slope guy here, because this is listen, if they start to get the little morsel that people are okay with this, because at the end of the day, right, there are people that voice these over for a living that we don't know about because, they just clock in and clock out, and it's taken away jobs. But shocker, tech trying to get the bottom line down so that the stock price can go up there. So we see you, Apple. I don't support this because what next? Then you're going to take away, the guy who does the voiceover for New York City subway, and it just goes on and on. If people realize that they can get away with it. Yeah,
you're right. And if you want to make a career now, don't use your voice. Be the person who knows how to program.
Yeah. Oh man, I hate this. But here we are.
Hard stance, Danny.
You will not get an AI tune up anytime soon. We're gonna be here until this thing falls apart.
I'd feel a little flattered if someone AI'd my voice. I wouldn't listen to it, but
that's why I don't post you on TikTok. I don't want anybody trying to go all Ursula and the Little Mermaid and trying to steal Benny Horowitz's voice.
Golden contract coming my way. Yeah.
In perpetuity.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, Benny.
Let's talk about sports, huh?
Let's get into a little bit of sports here. And Benny, this story started out as a negative story, but we got a little bit of good news for the Buffalo Bills' Damar Hamlin. So the positive news here is that Damar Hamlin, who on Monday Night Football fell to the field, suffering cardiac arrest. Luckily, the medical team was able to get in there, get CPR on him enough to get and revive him a little bit to get him into the ambulance and to get him to the hospital. Well, today, as of Friday, Damar Hamlin is off of the breathing tube and breathing on his own. He was even able to communicate with the people closest to him and the medical staff. So just great news all around. But so we're very happy for him. Prayers continue to work, and good vibes continue to work, and all of that stuff. But there's a lot of conversations to be had here after this event about some negligence. But where do you want to start on the Damar Hamlin story here, Benny?
Yeah, I mean, same as you. Just like, you strip it all back in the same way you saw those reactions of the players on the field. It's 24-year-old kid, and you're watching somebody in serious peril, and it's horrifying to watch. So the first instinct is like, I don't give a shit about football. I don't care. I just hope this kid makes it, and I hope he has a good course. And I think it's remarkable what they were able to do on the field and how quickly they were able to bring him and get him sorted out. I mean, prayers up for sure, but also like respect to the medical staff and community and people who kept this dude alive, because that is, a marvel in itself. And this happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. Like, this guy's probably not with us, so that's, a perspective I would like to hear actually a little more. I think it's just that there were actual people on the ground who did phenomenal things that kept this kid alive. And then, as far as negligence, I think, you're always looking something that has no answer is always looking for an answer, and I think once you saw the hit on the field didn't do anything and this didn't do anything, you're like, well, how could we have stopped this? And sure, maybe like, an even more in-depth physical process or something. But, I don't know if there's like a sport. I don't know if there's an industry in the world where somebody's physical state is more closely examined than a professional athlete. I'm sure this kid's had test after test, and hopefully maybe this is a cue where like there's a certain kind of test, a test of your heart, maybe regular EKGs or something you give to these people just to assure it, because it's not the first time it happened. But I'm not quick to blame anyone. I want to stay to the positive side of this, which is the fact that this kid could have, he could have not popped out of this. He could have not started breathing. He could still be on breathing support. And the fact that he's breathing on his own in this amount of time is remarkable. So I'm feeling really positive about that. I think the NFL sighed a gigantic sigh of relief, because they sort of get to like safely move on with their season without looking like pieces of shit. So I think they're relieved in that regard, and happy to see him doing well.
Yeah, we're all happy to see him doing well. And I think it's been very interesting to see how people have talked about this. They always lead with because like the human first, but then I kid you not, I was watching this game and this broadcast, and no more than 90 minutes after the incident occurred, you started to hear the talk of like, oh, week 18. Yeah. Like, are you joking me? No, and I'm not going to say who was saying this, but like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, to some people, these are just highly paid gladiators, and they forget about the human part, or they don't want the human part. And, think like it or not, this is the modern age, and you can't completely separate yourself anymore. People aren't machines. You got to know it, and accept that. Yeah.
The other interesting thing is that as of Friday, the NFL owners have approved a neutral site AFC Championship game. So, not to try to read the tea leaves here a little bit, this young man almost lost his life, and the NFL owners are going to be like, oh, we can do neutral site, Super Bowl, and NFC AFC Championship game? Yeah. Like, get the heck out of town.
Show must go on.
Oh, just like we must. NFL, get out of here. You're banned. No, just kidding. All right. Benny, let's move to a league that acts. No, Dan, don't go there.
Don't do it, Denny.
Let's go to the FBA, shall we?
Sure.
Not to step in it a little bit. I didn't have that written. I was just ready to go there. Close. All right, to the NBA now, and the MVP conversation is so hot, Benny. Mm-hmm. I made the mistake of texting you that the MVP was Jason Tatum's to lose right now, especially after Christmas and what he dropped on Luka and the Mavs on Thursday night. these conversations for me kind of become, semantics, especially if because we're not ever doing this by like just blind resumes. If you're doing that, I think Jokic is the MVP by like a mile. But where to kind of stand on this? I feel like you kind of need something extraordinary or at least a championship in that stretch to get 3 straight MVPs. But I feel like you feel differently about the MVP conversation.
I think we're starting to get to a landscape with Jokic because of advanced metrics and how unusually good he is inside of those metrics and how unusually dominant he is in every aspect of the game. The fact that his team's in first place, like, there's no reason not to vote for him. And I think you're getting into a space with him the way, LeBron was for years and some other guys are for years, where it's like, if you want to vote this guy for MVP every year, yeah, why not? There's nothing wrong here. And like, if this team keeps it up at this pace, watching him toy with offenses, I mean, you see him on national TV last night, like literally just toying around. Like, he gets the ball in the middle of the court and he can do everything every single way, and everybody knows it. And it's an unstoppable force out there. So, but you can make such a clear case for other people in this conversation. Like, you can make a clear case right now for who? Durant, Tatum, Giannis, and Luka. And the thing that separates me here, and the reason I am going to cast my current vote in this direction, is the concept of the MVP award, which is who's most valuable to their team. I think Denver is a pretty good team this year. They're deeper than they were. They have a couple more pieces than they were. The thing I see here that's most remarkable is kind of this piece of shit Dallas team staying afloat. And the closest comparison I can think of in my, mind here is those early LeBron Cavaliers teams where you just single usage player being so important to one team and everything being on this one person, and the amount of work that they have to do on any given night to win is remarkable. And to me, that's what's setting Luka for the MVP apart from the others right now, is who else in their current situations, being Durant, Jokic, Giannis, or Tatum, has to work harder than Luka to get it done. And with an even playing field and, a lot of arguments to be made for all of them, that is what's determining my current pick.
So you're going Luka. As of right now, you're going Luka. Okay.
I am.
So that adds a whole other monkey wrench into the thing. They just on Friday released Kemba Walker, who kind of was didn't really pan out for him. And yet another stop. It's gonna be interesting to see if he gets another chance in the league. But no, I think you kind of, when you're doing this MVP conversation, you need to look at like the head-to-heads and how these guys do against each other. Luka, and I know it's a regular season award, but you also have to look at playoff performance. And I believe they got to conference finals last year. Took them all the way there. But man, he's going to really need to do something different. And he also has the benefit of being in Dallas, and they're not going to be as tough on him externally in the organization. Maybe Mark Cuban will come down on him, but I don't know.
And I do. And as usual, I mean, we're at like, game 35 here, yeah. 30, 35. Like, this can change so fast, and like, there are going to be people who would hear this would be like, seriously, you're not even talking about Embiid, who had 2 50-point games and leads the league in scoring currently for a center. I just heard a stat where the last true center to score 2 50-point games in a season was David Robinson in 1994. So, Embiid's, and then you could really start to make a case for John Morant. If Steph Curry comes back and the Warriors make a run, he's right back. If Zion comes back and they make a run, he's right back. So I think it's still wide open, but right now I'm with the Vegas odds. What we got right now? We got Luka 300 to 1, Giannis 350, Jason Tatum 425, Jokic 500. Kevin Durant 700. So that's the top 5 right now.
Ooh, I would take either those Tatum or those Durant odds there, because man, the Tatum stuff here is fascinating. The MVP, as the way like the league kind of uses it as is, or at least the way the media uses it, it's trying to crown the next guy, so to speak. I mean, we've seen this going back to Durant through Curry and Giannis, and I think getting to the finals proved a lot to the media about Jason Tatum. The way that the Celtics have been able to withstand the offseason turmoil and come back almost bigger and better, and the way he's been able to do it on both ends of the floor still. There's been a lot of questions recently about Jaylen Brown's defense. Jason Tatum still keeps it going while being the spark plug for this team. Don't get me wrong. I think Boston would probably still be top 4 without Tatum, but they're not in the championship conversation without Tatum.
I might get off this podcast and put money down on these Jokic 5-1 odds.
I know, right?
Get the fuck out of here.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. What's next?
All right. So we we talked about the MVP here. I really thought that you were going to get on more of a Kevin Durant soapbox here. I know what you're doing, because I did this with the Bucks in the playoffs. You're trying to downplay this run. You're trying to downplay the run.
No. He's right there. He's just not there yet.
He's not there. All right. Well, speaking of the team that Jokic made look silly on Thursday night, the Los Angeles Clippers, just falling apart at the wheel. They came out flat again. They came in losers of 3 straight against Denver. Unfortunately, they are meeting the number 1 team in the Western Conference and a potential 3-time MVP, 3 straight time MVP in Jokic. They fell on Thursday night, 122-91. We've been hearing since 2019, the Clippers are coming. The Clippers are coming. And it's starting to sound a bit like the boy that cried wolf. So what do you make of the Clippers, making Marcus Morris play like all sorts of different kind of roles on this team? Like, it's just wild out there.
Yeah, now that the Nets are on a run, they are officially the greatest metaphorical team we have in the league, Just this Kawhi Paul George thing, it's the great, tandem that they thought on paper, and at times we get tastes where we're like, wow, this is special and this could be special, and we just don't get enough of it. And that, to me, is just the simple problem with the Clippers right now. I mean, the defense is pretty good. Like, they're above average defense, and it seems like it's mostly about health and availability. I mean, PG's missed a lot of time already, and you're bound to see more. Kawhi's looking at 45 games tops, because he's never going to play more than 2 games a week at this point. Wall has been in and out. And, they're really leaning on these, Batums and Terrence Manns and Kennard, who's having a good season, but you got to carry too much weight in those spots, and they just don't have like the guy when Kawhi and PG are out. So, again, like, you start to put these guys on the floor together, and you see certain games, and they're still above 500, and they're, the 5 or 6 seed right now. And, when Kawhi and PG are playing together, and you'll get these games where they'll beat a very good team, and all of a sudden you start scratching your head again. You're like, well, when they look like this, they're right there. But, they feel so behind the top teams in the West right now. These Denvers and Memphis and, teams like that seem to really be finding, their gear and heading in the right direction going towards the playoffs. And, that's going to be tough to beat for the Clippers if you just start finding your rhythm by like game 60, game 70, that's probably not enough. And then you just got to question the fact that, like, if you're seeing this now in the regular season, what are the chances we're going to get through 4 rounds of the playoffs with these guys staying together too? So I don't know. It's kind of looking a little dismal to me, not out of the realm of possibility that they'll still be a good team. But, as far as the getting out of the West, I mean, just this, it's looking slimmer and slimmer.
This as much as anybody. Connectivity is the key to basketball that not enough people talk about. They played 4 games at full strength this whole year. They've had Kawhi and Paul George together for 15 of those games. So, I mean, like the Nets last year, you needed the connectivity. They're having more of it this year, and they're going to have more success. How about this? I'm going to bait you into it. Bait you into a bold Nets prediction.
Come on.
All right. Benny, It's time to go to Utah, go skiing. That's right. We're talking NBA All-Star voting. The first returns are in. Have you seen these? Do you see who the fans want to go skiing on the slopes of Utah?
Yeah. I mean, as usual, I see more votes for Andrew Wiggins than
Right.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So of course, the people have spoken, and the people are dumb.
The people in the Western Conference, LeBron, the top vote getter, Jokic, number 2, Anthony Davis coming in at number 3, Zion at number 4. Zion on skis, though. I want to see it. Andrew Wiggins, number 5, Paul George, number 6, the hometown guy, Lauri Markkanen, having the season, deserves to be there. Coming in at number 7, Draymond at number 8, Kawhi Leonard coming in at 9, Kevon Looney at 10. Do you want me to roll through the Eastern Conference front court as well?
Sure.
All right, Kevin Durant, top vote getter in the Eastern Conference front court, followed by Giannis, Embiid, Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Pascal Siakam, Kyle Kuzma, Paolo Banchero coming in at 8. Shout out to Orlando.
Yeah.
Nick Claxton and Jared Allen. Oh my gosh, man, you could have had that would have been crazy if Claxton and Jared Allen got to grow together. All right, the guards in the Western Conference. We have top vote getter Steph Curry, followed by your guy Luka Doncic. Number 3 coming in, John Morant. OKC showing out for Shea at number 4. Klay Thompson, number 5. Westbrook getting some votes. Oh boy. Damian Lillard, number 7. Booker, 8. Austin Reeves, welcome to the party. At number 9. Jordan Poole at number 10. And then in the Eastern Conference, NBA fans said, what scandal? Kyrie Irving coming in at number 1. Donovan Mitchell coming in at number 2. James Harden, 3. Jaylen Brown at 4. Trae Young at 5. DeMar DeRozan at 6. LaMelo, your guy, at 7. Tyrese Halliburton at 8. Derrick Rose at 9. Derrick Rose
at 9. I mean,
that's right.
Derrick Rose has gotten more DNPs in minutes this year. This is why, this is ridiculous, this exercise, but 50% of the fan vote.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we doing here? We giving our all-star predictions or what we think is going to be there?
We both went and voted, and I think we should share the results. So, Benny.
Okay, let's go.
After you.
All right, so I'm going to start here in the East.
Yeah.
We're in the backcourt. I got Donovan Mitchell and Jaylen Brown. This was a tough call, but it was not for Kyrie Irving. It was for Tyrese Halliburton, who I heard was 8th in the voting. I mean, if there's not a more remarkable team in the East with somebody carrying an entire team on his back, it's Tyrese Halliburton. He's having a great season. I think you can make a case here for Kyrie, for Darius Garland, even for Tyler Hero. But I got Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown in the backcourt. Front court, a little tough because this is where you got, and it's going to come up in the All-NBA discussion as well, where you have a glut of Embiid, Giannis, Kevin Durant, and Tatum. One of them has to be left off. I wish you could play off Tatum as a shooting guard, but you can't. So in this case, I left off the highest scoring player in the league in Embiid, playing only 28 games so far. Sixers are up and down. And Giannis, KD, and Tatum have just been solid all year. So that's who I got.
Oh, all right. I was not surprised that you brought up Halliburton, but so I went with him.
Okay.
I got Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton.
Love it.
I think, man, people weren't watching the Pacers like that. And I think if he's going to get in, he doesn't owe Wally Zerbiak anything for Wally Zerbiak getting on MSG and calling him a fake all-star. That whole thing, that was crazy.
Terrible.
But, it at least brought him some attention nationally. So that was cool. So I got Mitchell and Halliburton as your guards. And then at my forwards, I got Kevin Durant, your guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, my guy. And then in the last spot, I've got my MVP, Jason Tatum.
You got Tatum. So we got the same front court, only changes. You got Halliburton over Brown, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
I just don't, it's going to be the first year thing. First time All-Star is not going to start. It's one of those weird things.
Unless
all right,
it's like
I love
weird
it.
Trae Young thing.
We're
Remember
pretty
when
similar.
Trae Young first got in, and then
yeah, he's nowhere near it this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's move out west then.
Let's do it.
Okay. My backcourt out west. You know what? Curry's missed too many games. I got Luka and I got Ja. I think SGA is close behind. He's going to do well in the vote for a number of reasons. One of them being the shining star of Canada. He is. And then in the front court, Jokic was the only sure thing for me. So you're left there with this. Do I go LeBron? Do I go Zion? And I got to say, I went with Zion because even though he's missed a little time when he's being in, it's been one of the most dominant players in the league. And I expect more of that this year. And then here's my wild card over LeBron James and over Domantas Sabonis. I believe you can make a strong case for Larry Markkinen. I think he's 25 points per game. He's 42% from three on a team who people expected to tank. LeBron has played 28 games on a terrible team. Sabonis, I would say is right there, but the scoring is just a little too far behind. And and I think Zion's just too dominant when he's on the court. So I got Jokic, Zion, Larry Markkinen.
So at my guard position, I agree with you in terms of Doncic, and I also agree with you in terms of Curry, right?
No, I had Ja. I got Ja.
Right. I agree with you that Curry hasn't played the
Gotcha.
games. I think he'll get the votes, and by
alternate, of course he'll get the votes.
Yeah. So it will be Doncic and Curry like that, which I think really so, man. The amount of times that Steph's going to have to go to Utah, has his documentary premiering at Sundance in 2 weeks, and then he's going to go back for All-Star. Just, man, I hope he likes skiing, that guy.
I hope all these guys stay off the slopes.
Yeah. All right, and then at my forward center positions, I have Jokic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have Sabonis. I went Sabonis. You got it.
Good for you.
And then, Benny, the sweet music, the sweetest music of all. I got the chance to look LeBron James, a guy who's going for the scoring title, straight in the face and say, I'm sorry, kid. Wait. Maybe next year. Maybe with Bronny. So Jokic, Zion, and Sabonis.
I love it.
I've actually got a real beef with LeBron James. I don't like how much we've talked about the Fantasy Basketball League on the show. LeBron James is he's taking it to me. He's like, oh, you think you're going to win this week? I'm going to sit out every single Sunday, and you're not going to get all the rebounds and shit.
This is the problem with all of it is like 2 years ago, a bunch of people sat around, or maybe a year and a half ago now, whatever it was, sat around being like, hey, LeBron's getting older. You got to find some people who can take minutes from him. Anyone who liked the Russell Westbrook trade, that was the justification, was the idea that LeBron could take a night off and Russell could handle the workload. Yeah. And of course, here he goes again. He's probably carrying the worst team he's ever had on his back, just like the 08 Cavs. Poor kid. But, the one thing, and I said it last week and I'll say it again, LeBron, when he gets to play, gets to put up as many fucking shots as he wants. Yeah. And he gets to safely go towards that scoring record. So I don't think he totally minds being the highest usage player on the planet,
And I'm sure he would rather not be in Utah in February. I'm sure he'd rather be up there at the Brentwood Country Mart.
Well, he's still going to be there. He's just not going to start.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. All-Stars MVP, your one-stop shop for basketball conversation right here.
Love it.
Plenty of ways to get in contact with the show. You can email us at the tuneuppodcast@gmail.com. 2 P's in there. Follow us on all the social platforms at the TuneUp HQ. If you want to follow the big man, he is at Benny Horowitz on Instagram. The content's there. It's flowing. It's like it's like a fine champagne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of content also flowing, it's flowing at the TuneUp YouTube channel. Go there, subscribe, be part of the party. On Instagram, I'm at Deny Gallagher as well. We're just oodles and boodles of content hitting you in the face. Benny, you got anything else?
Yeah, set your fantasy lineup. And if you want, you could trade me Bam Adebayo, okay? I'll let you.
You'll let me. Okay. Yeah. Well, the show has ended. We're going to try to go in peace after that disrespectful offer. But the show has ended. Go in peace. You've been listening to and watching the Tune Up.